All right, let's dive into a story of incredible ambition, decades of silent work, and a breakthrough that could literally reshape a nation's energy future. We're going to break down how India is on the verge of unlocking a nearly infinite power source, and in doing so, finally realizing a dream that was set down at its very foundation. You know, it all starts right here, with one man's incredible vision. Back in the early days of India's independence, Dr. Homi J. Bhabha, the architect of the country's nuclear program, wasn't just thinking about keeping the lights on. No, he saw the potential for a completely self-reliant civilization, one powered not by what the rest of the world was using, but by what India itself had in speeds. And that leads us to the central puzzle of this entire story. While the whole world was building its nuclear future on uranium, India set its sights on thorium, a completely different element that you can literally find in the sands of its beaches. It was a massive, massive gamble. So the question is, how on earth did they plan to pull it off? To really get their strategy, we've got to go back to the very beginning, to what we're calling Bhabha's thorium dream. You see, this wasn't just a random choice of technology. It was a decision born from India's totally unique circumstances. Okay, so check this out. This slide really lays out the fundamental choice they were facing. On one side, you've got uranium, the global standard for nuclear fuel. The big problem? India has very, very little of it. But on the other side, you've got thorium. India has some of the world's largest reserves of it. Now here's the catch. You can't just shovel thorium into a standard reactor and call it a day. It needs a special bridge technology to unlock its energy. So India had to choose, follow the world down a path using a resource it didn't have, or bet on itself and forge a brand new one. That choice became even more critical because of what happened next. See, forging a new path wasn't just a bold idea. It pretty much became the only option, leading to this long, difficult period we're calling the decades of denial. And this timeline just perfectly illustrates the challenge. Starting in the 1970s, right after its first nuclear tests, India got hit with international sanctions. It was cut off. No foreign technology, no outside expertise. The world was basically saying, you can't do this on your own. But here's the amazing part. In quiet labs across the country, Indian scientists use this isolation not as a setback, but as rocket fuel for homegrown innovation. They literally turned denial into discovery. And all of that decades-long effort, working in the shadows, has now led to this, the breeder reactor breakthrough. Indian scientists have just unveiled an absolute engineering marvel at a facility in Kalpakkam. This right here, this is the headline moment. The Prototype Fast Breeder Reactor has officially achieved criticality. Now, that's the technical term for when a self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction finally begins. Think of it like this. They just turn the key, and the engine has roared to life for the very first time. This is the moment everything has been building towards. So, what in the world is a fast breeder reactor? Well, the best way to think about it is like a kind of magical campfire. A normal fire burns wood to create heat, but this reactor, while it's generating power, actually produces more fuel than it uses up. Yeah, you heard that right. It's a technology that literally breeds new fuel, which is where it gets its name. And the process itself is it's beautifully elegant. It all starts with a core reaction of plutonium and uranium, and that generates the power. But here's the genius part. The extra neutrons from that reaction fly outwards into this surrounding blanket of material. This process actually transforms that blanket material into brand new plutonium fuel. The result? A net gain. You literally end up with more fuel than you put in. And just to give you a sense of how insanely difficult this whole thing is, just look at this number. The reactor is cooled by liquid sodium that's running at 550 degrees Celsius. We're not talking about water here. Managing this incredibly reactive material at such scorching temperatures is a monumental engineering feat, one that only a tiny handful of nations have ever managed to pull off. So, okay, this reactor is an incredible achievement all by itself, but its true significance, its real purpose, isn't just the technology, it's how it fits into India's grand three-stage nuclear plan. This one reactor is the absolutely critical key that unlocks a strategic vision designed to span centuries. This chart right here explains everything. Just look at India's nuclear fuel reserves. A whopping 80% is thorium. Natural uranium is just a tiny slice, and the enriched uranium that a lot of standard reactors need, it's almost nothing. So you see, without a way to use all that thorium, India's nuclear dream would have a very hard and very fast limit. So this is the master plan. Stage 1 was to use their limited natural uranium to make power and, as a byproduct, create plutonium. Stage 2, and this is what's happening right now at Kalpakkam, is to use that plutonium in fast breeder reactors to make more power and breed even more fuel. And that new fuel, that's the key to Stage 3, powering a whole new generation of reactors that can finally tap into India's massive thorium reserves. This breeder reactor is the bridge. It connects the past to the future. So, what does all of this really mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, pulling off Stage 2 isn't just a technical victory. It signals the dawn of a truly self-reliant energy future for over 1 billion people. Yeah, the sources really nail it with a phrase you hear a lot in India these days, Atmanirbhar Bharat, which basically means a self-reliant India. This reactor isn't just about atoms and electrons. It's a powerful symbol of national pride, something built by Indian hands, powered by Indian minds, for India's future.
So when you boil it all down, here's why this is such a game changer. First, it promises energy independence, not for years, but for centuries. Second, it's a massive show of technological mastery, putting India in a very elite global club. Third, it opens up a real path to huge-scale, carbon-free energy. And finally, it's just a powerful testament to homegrown innovation and national resilience.
And so, the story really comes full circle, doesn't it? It started with this incredible vision of a self-reliant civilization. It faced down decades of hurdles, and now it's resulted in this triumphant breakthrough at Kalpakkam, bringing that original dream closer than ever to becoming a reality. And this leaves us with one final, fascinating question to think about. As the entire world grapples with the need for clean, reliable energy, could this unique, long-term strategy pioneered by India, a strategy born from scarcity and isolation, actually be the definitive blueprint for the future of